Welcome to Independent Verification. My name is Andrew, and today we're going to be reviewing the Fujitsu ScanSnap iX1500. So for the sake of transparency, I want to let you guys know exactly how I came into possession of this product, because I did not purchase this myself. Fujitsu actually contacted me and said, hey, if we provide you with a review sample, will you conduct a review of this product for us? And I said, sure, as long as you agree to my terms and conditions, which basically states that I am allowed to form my own opinion and pass along that opinion to my viewers, regardless if it is positive or negative. So, let's get to it. So over here to my right, we've got the iX1500, and over here to my left, we've got the iX500. The 500 is more or less the predecessor to the 1500, and I've been using the 500 for a while now, but the reason I have the old one here with me is because I want to gauge how much improvement there has been between the two generations of ScanSnap products. So physically speaking, they both maintain approximately the same size footprint as the other. To turn them on, they're both basically the same thing. You flip up the lid and they both power on. You can pull up on these plastic tabs right here to help keep the paper in the feed tray nice and secure. The old one here on the extraction portion folds out and then folds out one more time. On the new one, you pull out and you just keep pulling out, and it's kind of got this curved lip rather than this angled lip compared to the old one. The paper feeding adjuster basically works the same between both of them as well. You've got this tab right here, which, as you can see, you can operate with one hand and just opens and closes depending on how wide the paper is. On the new one, it's the same function. So whether you're working with receipts, large documents, standard paper, it's going to feed it just fine. The new one does come with a special attachment, let's just call it, that is specifically for receipts. So if you got a ton of receipts, this just helps it feed those receipts a little better. Basic maintenance on either of them is, again, basically the same thing. There's a simple tab you pull up on the side and it opens up the internal portion for you to work on. Say if you need to clean off one of the sensors, if it's a little dusty, or if there's a paper jam, you just pull it up and then remove the jam. Super simple. It's the same thing with the new one. So if you're used to the old one, there really isn't any learning curve to using the new one. It's at this point you might start to ask yourself, well, if they're both so similar, what exactly are the differences? The iX500 scans at a rate of 25 pages per minute, where the iX1500 scans at a rate of 30 pages per minute. When it comes to setting up the devices on your wireless network, the old one is only capable of utilizing the 2.4 gigahertz wireless spectrum, whereas the new one can run on the 5 gigahertz or 2.4 gigahertz wireless spectrum, whichever one you see more fit. And of course, the most obvious distinction between the two, the iX1500 has an LCD display, which allows you to utilize all the functions of this scanner without having to go through the software first on your computer. Beyond what we've already talked about, the only other real added bonuses that the newer version has over the old one is that it's compatible with connecting to Android devices, which, you know, it's been a number of years since the original iX500 came out, and smartphones have definitely earned their place in the business. So with the business class scanner, I can totally see why they put in the extra effort to make sure that it was compatible with that sort of thing. Another thing to keep in mind, if for whatever reason you've thought about using multiples of these devices at once, is that it appears, at least on my end, that the software is limited to utilizing only one scanner at a time. I've tried to use both scanners at the same time, but the software requires that you select which scanner you want to use before the scanning can commence. Now, all of that information that was just presented to you comes directly from Fujitsu's website. And, you know, Fujitsu can make whatever claims they want, but it's my job to independently verify whether those claims are true or not. So, in order to do that, we're going to basically put these two machines head to head and see the difference in scanning speed between them, because remember, the newer one should be 5 pages per minute faster at the same resolution and settings than the old one. And we're also going to take a look at the quality of the scanning being done. So what you're seeing right now is a head-to-head test between the 1500 and the 500. Now, I know it looks like both machines are running and operating at the same time on the same computer, but that's actually not the case. All you're witnessing is just a bit of movie magic done on my video editing software. But I've done it this way because now I can show you what it looks like when both these machines start their scanning operations at the exact same moment. That allows us to take a look at just how fast each one of them is scanning compared to the other. Because remember, this one is supposed to scan at 30 pages per minute, while this one is supposed to scan at a rate of 25 pages per minute. In order to do that, I have taken apart an old textbook back from my college days. Now, I just want to say for the record, I do not condone the unauthorized reproduction or distribution of copyrighted works. This is done simply to help benchmark these machines. I don't plan on distributing any part of this document that I've scanned, so I just wanted to get that out of the way. But essentially what I've done is I've taken the old book and I've taken a circular saw to the binding, and that's how I've removed the glue. Now, if I wanted to be much more professional about it, I could have gone to a company that specializes in removing the glue binding, but I've done it this way partially as a means to kind of emphasize a point. And that point is that the feeding mechanisms on these machines are really, really good. I mean, they're so good that for this test, I'm actually going outside of the recommended specifications that Fujitsu recommends. You see, they say you shouldn't put more than 50 pages in of the loading dock at a time when you're doing a scan, but we're putting in 100 pages. We're doubling the amount just so I can show off how good the feeding mechanism is on these machines. Now, if there's any problem with the extraction, you know, as it comes out, well, that's usually due to a simple thing involving the pages, if they're wrinkled, crinkled, creased, if they're wet for any reason, if they've got any glue remaining on them in some areas, or God forbid there's a staple holding them together. That'll definitely affect the way it comes out of the machine, so it might not be perfect, but honestly, that's not that big a deal. It's the feeding that's the important part, because a good clean feed means a good clean scan. So that's why I've decided to do it like this. Now, there are some caveats to this whole scanning thing, and I want to make sure everyone's aware of this before I end this video and before all this is done. I wanted to clarify some information about the testing I've just shown you by going over some of the technical specifications provided by Fujitsu on their website involving the iX1500 specifically. So for the testing, I chose the best mode because that was going to be the way to get the maximum DPI in the color setting while maintaining the high 30 page per minute feed rates. However, if you take a look, you'll also see that if we had chosen monochrome, we could have gotten a higher resolution in best mode while maintaining that feed rate, but sacrificed any color. Now, I want to bring some attention to the normal and excellent mode as a way to give some contrast here, because this is some important information. If you look at normal mode, it's still 30 pages per minute. The color or grayscale DPI is 150, monochrome is 300. Basically, putting it on monochrome can double the DPI in any setting. However, if we go down to excellent mode, you'll see that the color
or grayscale is 600 dpi, monochrome is 1200. But if you select that, you will drop down to a mere 8 pages per minute, which is drastically slower than any of the other settings. And there's a reason why that is. If you look at the optical resolution for the scanner, it is only 600 dpi, so in order to achieve that 1200 dpi in monochrome, they have to slow down the scanning significantly to compensate for that difference. Consequently, in order to do it in color, because there's a lot more involved with color and grayscale compared to monochrome, you'll also have to slow it down considerably again to achieve a good quality scan. I just wanted to make sure everyone was aware of that before buying this product. So finally, we come to the most important aspect of this entire review, the quality of the scans. Now remember that we were set to 300 dpi in full color at 30 pages per minute. And at that setting, the OCR software is fully capable of converting what would technically be a picture of text into text we can highlight, copy, paste, and more importantly, in my opinion, search through. So if I type in the word LAN, it'll find that word as a keyword that it can search throughout the entire document. So if I type in, let's say, network, it'll do the same thing. And there's a lot of results for that word in this book. But the fact is, it's done a really good job. And I wanted to show off some areas where there are pictures because, again, we did it in color because the text that we copied was in color. So looking at the pictures, they look perfectly fine in my opinion. This is not like a photo per se. It's more, these are more diagrams and such. So you know, there's a difference between scanning a photo from a camera versus a document that has pictures in it. That's something to keep in mind. So, you know, looking at the text, everything is very legible. Everything is very easy to read. You know, the software for optical character recognition, OCR, worked perfectly fine. And I can't see any problems with this. If I really had a problem with the OCR, or if I really needed the pictures to be more legible, I would set the scanning to the highest resolution possible and just deal with the fact that it would go at 8 pages per minute versus the 30 that we scanned at. But at the 30 pages per minute at 300 DPI, I think the scanner has done a fantastic job. And honestly, you would be hard-pressed to really tell that this was a scan versus just a document that was made digital in the first place if you didn't really know the difference in advance. I don't think most people would really have an issue or even notice. And you may notice some of the text is kind of diagonal, like this one's diagonally going left and this one's diagonally going right. That has to do with the way that I cut the paper out of the binding from the book. That's nothing to do with the scanner. The scanner has done a perfectly good job. And, you know, the resolution of the pictures in the book weren't all that high res to begin with. But, you know, at the end of the day, you really can't ask for much more than this. It's done a very good job. And for what is 200 pages, well, 199, the size of the document is very reasonable after its compression. It's only sitting, I think, just below 300 megabytes. If I look on the file, it is 243 megabytes for this almost 200-page color document with pictures and everything. So I feel that is extremely reasonable. The software is when it's installed, it works very well. There's a few hiccups with installing, but honestly that has to do more with my personal computer than it does the software that is provided by Fujitsu. So that's the end of the review, guys. It does an awesome job, and I can't find any major flaws with the product. The product works as advertised, and at the end of the day, that is really the bare minimum of what you should expect. But you know, it's my job to find any variations or deviations from what is expected. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope this video was helpful.